Another couple of more minutes and then we can start off. The recording is started. Great. So yeah, without much further ado, we were supposed to start at 6. We'll start at 6 and let people join in as time goes. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on a Saturday evening. I know you have taken out time from places where you don't have. A lot of you are busy. A lot of you have been stuck at home because of COVID-19. But in any ways, really thankful to everyone that you have made it today. We have an amazing and interesting topic today that we're going to be talking about. That is vocal for local. War cry sort of a thing that has been, raging on entire social media. We're seeing that WhatsApp University pushing vocal for local, social media posts by Sonam Wangchuk being shared. I believe he did not get so much popularity even with Three Idiots. The amount of popularity that he's getting today, that people are now coming to know, okay, so Amir Khan's character was modeled on Sonam Wangchuk. So, anyways, so that inspired me to come out with this topic that is vocal for local. So, I would request Mr. Ramkesh Meena, Honorary Secretary, ISTD Vadodara chapter, to set the ball rolling. Ramkesh ji, good evening. Over to you.
Yeah, good evening and thank you, Dr. Seetal. Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. Our dear esteemed panelists, guests, office bearers, and members of IIMA, AA, and Vadodara chapter, ISTD Vadodara chapter. I am Ramkesh Meena as Honorary Secretary, ISTD Vadodara chapter. Extend my heartiest welcome to all of you in this third part of Bright Minds, a panel discussion series for virtual learning and sharing. So just to share a brief about the ISTD, like as India's largest professional and non-profit society for the trainers in L&D and management field, having international affiliation with IPTDO and ARTDO since 1970, and having a large membership base of individuals, corporates, institutes, and diverse professionals across the country. Just for your information, ISTD organized training programs all over the country as national level as well as the chapter level, like the Train the Trainers, Innovative Trainer Award competition, student project competition, workshops, seminars, webinars, mainly covering the diverse area of HRD, management, and technology, including a diploma programs in training and development approved by Government of India. So without taking much time, let me invite our chapter chairman, Mr. Dilip Desai sir, to brief about the ongoing activities by ISTD Vadodara chapter. Yeah, over to you, Dilip Desai sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ramkeshji.
Thank you, sir.
There is a quite close coordination between IIM Ahmedabad and ISTD Baroda. The main link between the two is one Mr. Arvind Khode and other one is Dr. Seetal Nayak. So both of them are working as a bridge between the two. And as I said in the last meeting also, that I invite all IIM Ahmedabad alumni members to cross the bridge and join ISTD as well. Unfortunately, or because of some constraint, we cannot cross the bridge and we cannot be a member of IIM Ahmedabad. But all of you can. I would love your joining ISTD. ISTD Baroda chapter is a very active chapter. And thanks to even Seetal, we have organized nearly 15 webinars, where even Namita Gopal, also one of the members, and she also delivered one webinar. So we are organizing various activities as said by Mr. Ramkesh Meena. And without taking much of a time, I would just like to invite all of you to join ISTD. And once again, I am thankful to IIM Ahmedabad and to Sheetal in particular for organizing this type of panel discussion. I thank you one and all, and I request Mr. Sheetal to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for this wonderful introduction. I would request now Mr. Manish Parikh to please speak a few words from behalf of IIM Ahmedabad Alumni Association.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on this forum once again with ISTD. We've already had, I think, 3 earlier webinars together, and they've all been very successful. I welcome all of you, especially the panelists, Mr. Bhavik Khera, Dr. Ramita, and Mr. Dhanu Rabai. And as you all know, this IIM Alumni Association is a pan-IIM association of all alumni of IIMs. It is not restricted to Ahmedabad only. So, just like sir, you said, all can join ICD. Any alumni of any IIM is welcome to join our association as well. And throwing back again to corporate head to start.
Thank you once again, sir. As I said, we have a very interesting topic which is there in our hands, that is vocal for local. So first, COVID-19 hit us really bad, and as is the human tendency, we found something or someone to blame. And the country, I believe Trump is also blaming China, so we also thought, let us blame China. And the next thing that we wanted to do is we want to hit China below the belt, the economic thing, right? And we all decided to completely get out of Chinese products. A knee-jerk reaction, but I mean, I would request the panelists to, speak further about it. So without much further ado, I would request the first panelist, Mr. Bhavik Khera, to speak about it. I'll just share a brief introduction about Mr. Bhavik Khera. Mr. Bhavik Khera is the managing director of Sea Linkages Private Limited. He is a second-generation entrepreneur who has been associated with Sea Linkages for over 28 years and has been focusing on finance and systems, as well as overseeing the strategic growth of product business. Sea Linkages Private Limited is the leading manufacturer of custom-built electromechanical parts and assemblies for the engineering sector, catering to a host of customers spread over 4 continents and 23 countries. So basically, he's a part of an Indian MNC, I would like to say. He's also an MD in Eclipse Global Private Limited, which is a company which is into manufacturing of motorized Venetian blinds and double-glazed glass units. He's also the founder trustee of Sea Foundation, which has its core focus on the upliftment and betterment of girl-child in areas of education and health. Mr. Bhavik has graduated with physics major from MS University of Vadodara. He also holds a PG diploma in plastic processing technology from Central Institute of Plastic Engineering and Technology, Ahmedabad. He went on to do his general management development program from IIM Ahmedabad, which was conducted in Bhutan. The ardent traveler in him has nurtured his passion for photography, especially to capture the colors of Earth. He is an ardent reader, a music lover, and believes in the power of networking. Let us hope that Mr. Bhavik Khera illuminates us with his wide variety of experiences on the specific topic that is vocal for local. Mr. Bhavik, over to you.
Thank you, Sheetal. My God, that was a long introduction. So I think I need to truncate it to the next time. So, like when Sheetal told me about the topic that we need to, discuss on going vocal for local, the first thing which came to my mind was what exactly did Modi ji mean when he was talking about it? His call for a self-reliant India, which was seconded by Amit Shah, that if Indians don't buy foreign-made goods, the economy will see a jump. I mean, that was what, as a strategy, although it's too vague, it was basically more, with a geopolitical element. So, just talking about it a little more from a manufacturing perspective, I can talk about it as a manufacturing, from a manufacturing perspective. Now, if I were to interpret this as an extension of Make in India, meaning to say that all companies, including MNCs, are expected to manufacture in India, it is good. It's good from a manufacturing perspective, as it will ensure that the world's best manufacturing companies offer employment locally, that increasing employment opportunities, bring best practices to India, manufacturing practices, set benchmarks of services and manufacturing, and so on. However, the flip side of this is what's to prevent countries affected by this from retaliating on the same lines. I mean, asking if these countries say that, okay, we are going to ask for goods to be manufactured locally in that country, that could have a repercussion in terms of what happens to the MSMEs. I mean, like we are talking about India's backbone of our economy being MSMEs. A large chunk of these companies exporting. I mean, I think almost, if we talk of data, almost about 40% of our exports is from MSMEs, right? You can't expect MSMEs to go up to set up manufacturing bases in the country of export. I mean, how would that be possible? And retaliations, in the current, I mean, I think enough been said and seen and heard right now that in the current wave of trade altercations, which is a very possible scenario. Now, okay, so the next, I would say the other perspective, if I would interpret it as a call to be Swadeshi, which means that, not just make in India, but also Indian. I mean, things. So basically, you're saying that we chuck all the MNCs out, something like what Mr. Morarji Desai did in the early 70s, where he chucked Coca-Cola out of the country. So if we're talking of that kind of a movement, which says buy local, that is sounding the death knell in terms of, I mean, I personally feel that it was probably more aimed at China. But anyway, it does not augur well for manufacturing and service companies wanting to set up shop in India. You can't have them coming to India. I mean, you are saying that don't come to India, basically. And then you're basically pushing us, or let's say you're denying us the best of technology which is to be available. You don't have that knowledge sharing happening with global practices, and you're basically pushing us back to pre 1991, and then we would have to be content with the fiats and ambassadors of that time and the Krishi Darshan and Chitrahars that we were used to prior to 1991. So I think it's basically a throwback to a nationalist economic policy that India and other independent nations followed in the last century. Before the high tide of globalization really swept over. So it kind of, its statement also kind of foretells a potential renewal push for the Swadeshi economic policy. So I'm not really sure what exactly do we want to interpret this call. But in both cases, I mean, maybe the other panelists would probably, Dhanur and Namita would probably have something which is probably a third interpretation of this. But for me, both these interpretations are not good. And I just explained what. So I think probably I have more to say, but I think I'll probably give it to Dhanur or Namita to probably add to this.
Yeah, so I would now request Namita ji, please come forth. Let me just give a brief introduction about Namita ji. Dr. Namita Gopal is an accomplished CSR professional. She has handled a variety of leadership roles. Is a seasoned academician, and she is certified by Stanford Technology Ventures Program, National Entrepreneurship Network, IIM Bangalore. So, see, technically, I can see that she's an IIM alumni. She should also join us. Yeah. So, IIM had an interesting job role where she was heading corporate social responsibility for L&T Power India. She was also an author and consultant on academics, CSR, and sustainability. She's a director with Yash Green Power, and she has a variety of CSR programs which has been running under her. She has an amazing perspective on CSR. I was lucky enough to attend one of her sessions. And without much further ado, I'll request Namita ma'am to please share her opinion.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Good evening, everyone. And I think someone's there from the US. So good morning. I heard someone saying Nishan, I think. So I think this global versus local I'm not saying I'm not in favor of, I'm not really defining each of it, because the definition has not been actually clarified by the government, that what it actually means. I think when it was put forth by our Prime Minister, then it was more of a thought that we have to encourage local manufacturing and local business, local demand, and strengthen the local grassroots right now. So in the long run, and I won't go back to pre-1991. Sorry, sir. Sorry, Mr. Bhavik, but I don't think it's any policy right now. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not into manufacturing, but it was more of an encouragement that let us encourage our own people, because industries are suffering and statistics are all known. It's all over the press. All the associations are aware of it. There are many industrialists who are more vocal about this. That we need more benefits, we need more subsidies, we need more encouragement, basically. So local industry is really suffering. There is no two words about it. The employment is down, the production is down. Apart from FMCGs like of food and all, probably the other day there was an article about Parle G, and they have made record sales never before. So about for those 2 rupee Parle G packets, so it's great. But all the other industries, you have Indigo, you have tire companies, you have clothing companies, you have so many people, and they form the backbone of our economy. Now, if you do not give an impetus to them, and right now you know everything is open and everyone is free to come in, and of course they're already here. Most of the global names already have a presence in India, so it's not that they're going to be turned out of the country or anything like that. But you know uh, I feel that there has to be some type of consideration to build up our industry at this stage. It really needs it. There is no two ways about it. Whether it's a foreign company having a base here and employing people, even say Microsoft or anyone here, they also employ Indians, right? So you have to give that thing a boost. So anyone who creates employment, generates business, and helps the economy of our country has to be definitely, protected, and has to be definitely encouraged. That's what I feel at this stage. Probably my other panelists and other guests can have. So maybe Dhanur, or you may be able to take this ahead.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your opinion. Uh, Good evening, Dhanur. I would request Dhanur to take forth now just a brief introduction on Dhanur. Dhanur's been my batchmate from MBA. We did our MBA together at Symbiosis. The first time I met Dhanur was probably when we went for that haircut Sims cut. We both are sporting somewhat similar a cut right now. So yeah, so that was the first time I met Dhanur. So yeah, brief about Dhanur. Mr. Dhanur Oberoi carries 10 plus years of experience and heads Mercer Metals business for strategic accounts as well as multinational corporations. His experience covers multiple industries such as BFSI, manufacturing, technology startups. He had also an entrepreneurial stint in his career. So he has a very interesting purview on going local. And to be very honest with you, this topic itself squared upon one small interaction I read in one of our Sims groups, wherein I saw Dhanur sharing facts, and it just clicked to me that yes, why not? This can be an interesting topic to speak about. So, without much further ado, off to you, Dhanur.
Thanks, Sheetal. So the haircut this time is self-done, not a mandate by Sims. No barbers available. Uh, so coming back to COVID and the screen for let's go local. Uh, I think the first thing that is that it's a googly, right? There's no definition of what the Prime Minister actually meant. As a citizen, I'm going to be looking at, if it's, like Mr. Bhavik said, it's a call to nationalism, then I would like to define national interest as the greatest good, right? And the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Now, if you go and close yourself out from the global economy by saying that let's become Atmanirbhar or self-reliant, is not going to take us very far. There's a reason why you globalize, right? Because either you don't have a competitive advantage in producing the goods that you're importing, and the only reason you're importing that is maybe price, technology, or expertise. So it's great to say let's go local, but I think you need to go back to the start and say let's develop skills and competencies in India to support that product, to support that industry. Now, as Mr. Bhavik said that in manufacturing, he sees it that it can be a massive blunder, but we have multiple industries in the country, and there can be certain industries that if we have time, we can dig into to see, what can be done there, and what is the market share that we have that we can capitalize. Um, this is a very funny thing happened that again knee-jerk reaction. He says go local, and our military canteens overnight stopped supply of all MNC products. But these MNC products also included stuff like Colgate Palmolive, Dabur India, which have been here for 60 to 90 years. And they could not then figure out what is really local. There's nothing purely local. So if you're saying local is equal to made in India for India, then I'm sorry, not a Reliance Indian anymore. Jio just sold off 17% of their company to only international players. What is local? So can the Prime Minister, his office, people in policy redefine what is local? And then we take it from there. Because coming out, giving a nice slogan and disappearing from the screens for the next 15 days while you and me try and figure out what is local and what do I stand for and what do we stand for. It's great. I mean, we're trying to figure out who we are and what we do and what is national and what is, pardon my language, anti-national. But we have to still figure out, right, what he means and what can be done to achieve that. So, I mean, Sheetal, back to you. But for me, I think it is more of what to do and how to do it rather than, why we should go local. That is what has to be addressed.
Building on the momentum that the panelists have, shared upon and working on that, I would like to put this back to Bhavik sir. Bhavik sir, you spoke about manufacturing industry and probably their competence or incompetence, but wouldn't this be a great opportunity for a manufacturing industry to just come grab the thing by its own hand and get into new production methodologies? Like there are few companies in a small city like Baroda which might just suddenly prop up with demand flowing in. What do you feel, Bhavik ji? You're muted, Bhavik sir. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, sorry. So that is exactly what Dhanuj just said, right? There's no clarity on what are we discussing, right? Now, when you are saying, I mean, if we are discussing in terms of skill set, fine. I am perfectly for it. We need to increase our skill sets. We need to reskill people. We need to retrain people. We need to get the quality up to a certain level, which is lacking currently. That is all fine. But see, today, I mean, let us say that pre-COVID, all of us have been manufacturing. Today, we as a manufacturer are supplying to, I mentioned and you mentioned earlier, we are supplying to 4 continents. Okay. If I have to supply the same amount to India, I don't have a buyer. I mean, so where is the question of my going local? I mean, I need those export orders. Now, if people start, I mean, if whoever, I mean, I am dealing with mostly MNCs, I'm dealing with large corporations in India also. Now, if they say that, I mean, they're already buying from me. They're buying to their capacity. How much more capacity are they going to increase? I mean, today, if India has if it is going to manufacture 1 lakh vehicles a year, which is being fulfilled by the existing people. Now, suddenly you say buy local, that 1 lakh is not going to become 10 lakhs. Until it becomes 10 lakhs, I need that export order. I need that export order to fulfill that gap. So I need to buy, and if we start saying that, okay, you only buy local, I mean, that is what I said earlier. And if, there is retaliation already because of COVID, there is a reaction in terms of not from a nationalist perspective, but simply from a business perspective where most of our export customers want localized supplies. Just because their supply chains got disrupted during COVID because we were locked down for us, I'm specifically talking about our company. We were shut down from 22nd of March till, like I said, till almost about middle of April. Okay. Not a single customer has been shut down. All my customers, including ones in Italy, in Spain, which was the worst affected, in the US, they've all been functioning. So I mean, they have basically started canceling orders just because we were not able to supply. Right. So now they're saying that we want to do is we want to go local. We want to, I mean, they're also saying the same thing, that we want to go local, not from a nationalistic perspective, but from a supply chain disruption perspective. That tomorrow, if something similar happens, their businesses are taking a hit.
Correct.
So, I mean, it does not really work well. If they start doing that, I'm going to be out of business. Right. So, I mean, it doesn't really, I'm not against saying that going local, I mean, people should buy local, but whatever, I mean, let's say hardcore engineering, most of it is being manufactured here. Again, there was a question of what is defined as local. I mean, today you take anything, even an HDFC bank is not local anymore. Okay. It is, you talk about your banks, you talk about your manufacturing companies, you talk about your Paytm is not local. Paytm is funded by SoftBank or something, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So, what is local? I mean, how do you define local? And when you're saying go vocal for local, what are we talking about?
I think mostly, sorry to interrupt. I think mostly I think so. I'm not sure, but the main thought would be like if you have in products, like if you go to a supermarket and there is a jar of olives imported like that, and there is alternative local produce that can substitute for that imported product. Probably the intention would be of the government saying go local is pick up that instead of that, try and use the local ingredients or the local components if possible for your manufacturing. Probably that may have been the thought, because once if you're getting used to those imported olives, then when the supply chain is broken due to some calamity, then you will not get that. So try and inculcate some local use also, and help the Indian industry. Probably that may be a
Ma'am, so just to add in on two things. One was that about manufacturing, right? So, Bhavik, I mean, you were saying that you are manufacturing in India for your clients overseas. So I was looking after APAC as a region for Mozabear when they used to make CDs and DVDs. We only sold 50 million discs in India, but we used to export 250 million discs a month to other countries. So I do understand where you're coming from. But another thing is another side, and I would like your view there is that. So you talk about you manufacturing India for your clients overseas, but a lot of our large Indian companies have manufacturing setups globally, right? So, ma'am, I think your ex-L&T, I think even L&T has manufacturing setups in other countries and predominantly in China. So does your steel companies, so does your shipping companies. They all have very large manufacturing setups outside. So are you saying that if you go local, you shut that down and move everything back here, or you take that? Now, that was one perspective. And the other, man, that you said about when you go to buy olives, right? A large problem for me is I don't know a local brand because they have no marketing budget, right? I only know one is Apna Baba Ramdev. Now, on technology, if I have to use technology, we all shop using our phones, right? What if Paytm, Amazon, Flipkart have a switch which says made in India or made by India as an option, that when you switch on, you only see the Indian brands, and at least then you have a way of buying it. Expecting people to walk into a store and say this is, and pick up the label, turn it around and say, oh, this was manufactured in Italy and this was manufactured in Ghatkopar, will be very difficult. But if another one is how. So for me, how is that you give people the option and give local manufacturers. So, ma'am, I work with CSR as well. And for example, PI, yes, ma'am. So PI Industries, for example, has adopted 50 odd villages across Gujarat, and they do a lot of work for them there. One of the work that they do, and now they're taking up some mango plants down south, to a company called VAPS, that will teach people how to use every part of a banana, from the husk to the banana itself, to make it export quality, to make hats out of it, bags out of it. So these guys will make all of that, ma'am, but the problem is who's buying it. So can a Flipkart or a Amazon have a button or a switch on the app which is made in India, and I get my Indian products? So, sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah, Bhavik sir wants to say something.
So, like I'm just saying exactly what Dhanu is just extending on that. That if there is an Indian product, there is really no need to push this, because we are anyway. I mean, I would never replace my Parle G with my morning tea of Wagh Bakri ever. Okay. So there is, if there is a product, we are buying that. Why are we looking at other products? It's basically because the same, I mean, if let's say we talk of Kellogg's, okay, breakfast cereals, since we were discussing, Kellogg's came into the market. Prior to Kellogg's, what was available, right?
Wow.
There's barely any choice. Even after Kellogg's has come, what is the difference between the quality? I mean, we have seen some improvement in packaging. We have seen some improvement in the basic quality of the product. But that, how has that come about? It has come about because there is some competition. There is
That's
some
right.
benchmarking available from what is available internationally. So when you're saying going local, I'm for it. I'm not saying no, but the question is, it has to come to a stage where you say, okay, I don't prefer a Kellogg, I prefer this. Like today, Parle G, for whatever it is, has no equivalent, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, the question is, what products are we talking about, and what product it makes a big difference?
But isn't it a lot about not purely going completely local, but trying to be a bit more of anti-China, not buying Chinese products? See, this call that was suddenly made was made at a time wherein the entire country was in a lockdown. I mean, he could have made the call of Swadeshi probably the second time he won the election. This is not something which he would not have thought about. But this call, which was made during COVID-19 times, is it trying to attack a niche Chinese manufacturing setup? Because every single manufacturing company in India uses some Chinese byproduct, something, some raw material from China. I mean, it is not that anything that we use, the laptop that I'm using today is made in China, the phone
Right.
that I'm talking on is made in China. Let's forget technology, even fabric. So is it more of anti-China than being more local? What probably is that what they wanted to say? I mean, any opinion on that?
I honestly don't think it was thought through, Sheetal, because I mean, you go industry wise. I mean, smartphones, if you talk about China, they have like 72% of India's market share. Television, they have about 40 or 45% of the market share. Auto components, they have about 26% of the market share. So they're not really niche, they're all over the place. Solar, they've got 90% of the market share. So what niche are we, is the Prime Minister and his office trying to target is beyond me. And I was hoping to get some, I mean, advice here on this call. I came to learn actually that maybe I'm very limited at the game 36, and maybe all the panelists here will be able to educate me a little bit more. But which industry are we targeting? Is there an industry we can target where China is interested and we are too? They haven't been left pharma, right? Farmers got 60% of them just in their market share. So what is that industry? Is there an industry except for maybe agro where maybe we can do something? Even coal we're importing now because we have ash coal, and that can't be used in our thermal plants. So we have to import non-ash coal from Indonesia and Australia, etc. So what industry are we looking at to target China if that was a target?
Well, I
I
think
mean,
I like to just add a little bit here that I don't think it was, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it was actually anti-China. It was actually, more of a thought to increase demand, basically. And demand at that stage cannot be fulfilled by international supply chains because the whole thing was closed. So, increasing demand, in within India at that time, go and buy, and if possible, go and buy, a Dabur, not a Dabur, maybe a Patanjali or whatever, a more local thing. I'm not saying, brand to brand or whatever like that, and not industry specific, but I think the thought behind is don't be dependent on international supply chains, because at any point of time, those may not be really resilient. They can collapse at the drop of a hat. A small virus has, just stopped the entire.
I think there is some problem with the audio.
okay, so I just thought I've lost connection. So
No, you haven't. You haven't. Till ma'am rejoins us with proper audio. There are a few questions which are just pouring in on the chat box. I mean, I don't know who will like to put it. Now, in terms of services, what about arms and ammunition? I mean, there is a question by Soren Mehta who says that isn't arms and ammunition a sector where we can target, Dhanu? What do you think?
I'm from a defense background. We buy everything. I mean, from Air Force carriers to helicopters to everything is bought, right? No, and if you're talking about how many wars are we actually getting into to create an arms and ammunition race and sell bullets and guns? Our guns are from Russia. Our aircraft carriers are from Russia. Our aeroplanes and helicopters from the US. Um, we have Israeli arms companies set up over here. There are specialists that train us on how to kind of go to war. So I don't know if arms and ammunition is something that can be great, and China's army is far better equipped than us. So I don't think that can be something that we can actually target, so to say. But I liked what Ma'am actually said about opening up the economy. Maybe he was talking about buying more. To buy more for me means to have more disposable income, and for me to have more disposable income, what can the government support me to have some more money in the bank for me to spend some more money? They've in fact increased. I think how much are we paying now? 270% tax on fuel, petrol and
Something like
diesel,
that. Yeah,
something like that.
Yep.
So instead of opening up my pocket, they've kind of put another small little lock on it, making me wonder whether I can or cannot go there. So if it's about opening up the economy and letting me spend more, don't increase taxes right now. Let me spend some money. If I spend some money, you're going to make that money back, right? The government's trying to kind of look after. So Delhi government also 5,000 crores from the center saying that we need money to pay salaries. But if you lock down people in their homes, it is going to be an impact. But give me some more money to spend, and maybe I can spend and revive the economy. And maybe the government can take some options there to kind of give me some liquidity and easing up the loans that we have right now. So people want to buy a home, make it a little bit easier for them. For businessmen, I guess your land acquisition policy is right now very, very difficult. Maybe move it to a lease model where at least the person who owns the land is getting some money for a long time, and you're not stuck in litigation for years and years because one farmer of 1 acre went to court and said, listen, I don't want to do this deal, and the entire project goes to hold. So maybe these kind of steps would actually help us and quick move us up in the east to do business. And Bhavik sir, you've been in business for a long time. So our movement from 72 to 63, how do you look at that? Do you think that we're an easy place to do business in for an Indian or for a company coming from outside? Do you think that actually there has been a change under the Modi regime or shifting of that space from 70 something to 60 something? Just want to get your views, and you're in his state of Gujarat, so it'll be really interesting.
We apparently are supposed to be pro Modi, aren't we?
Sorry?
We are supposed to be pro Modi.
So not really. So actually, we were discussing earlier that we've kind of, the ease of doing business has not really gone up on the ground level. So we've heard a lot about efforts to kind of move towards doing making business, doing business easier, but it's not really happening. Now, very typically, I measure myself. I wouldn't go by what I hear, but typically, an average, I have been spending about 3 hours a day on compliances. So rather than focusing my efforts and energies towards building the business, building, or increasing or growth or, improving technology products, I'm spending it on totally non-value adding activities, which is part of all this ease, which comes under ease of doing business in that sense. So no, not really. And typically, like you said, a lot of things, translating from a slogan to ground reality is definitely not happening. And it didn't happen in Modi 1, it didn't happen in Modi 2. I mean, if we talk about I mean, we've really failed as a society and as people for the migrant labor issue. I
Right.
mean, government, whether it is government, whether it is society, whether it is industry, I think we have miserably failed them in terms of what we have done to them, and or rather not done for them during when this pandemic broke out. So we are talking, like you said, all these packages. Uh, Giving a stressed MSME more money as a loan is, or giving a stressed business more money as a loan to service is not really going to revive growth, or is not really going to. So I'm not really sure where are we talking about all these. I mean, you're giving me more borrowed money. There is no, there are no, the core issues are not being addressed,
Right.
is what I would like to say. That, I mean, you, instead of addressing the core issues we are talking about, I mean, what of the packages that have been announced? I am not really sure what an average industry is going to benefit from these packages, and will really see that growth which we are looking for, or which is going to stimulate that growth. I've been continuously been interacting. So today, as an MSME, if I talk about uh, today, my biggest problem is the fact that I'm not getting my dues paid in time, whether it is large corporations or it is PSUs or private sector. Is basically that is the core issue. If the government were to push for making that on time, uh, I don't need any funding. I don't need any help from anybody. I mean, the help which I need is this, and if that happens, I don't need any packages or anything. I mean, I think probably most of us would have seen on WhatsApp University about that package joke which is going around in terms of packages being announced. And so anyway, let's not do a political debate, but effectively, yes, there's a lot of difference between what is basically announced and what is actually available on the ground.
That's
That's
true.
my take on that.
So, ma'am, just one thing I wanted to ask, that you're in CSR. Have you seen much change? I'm really interested. Like sir said that he hasn't seen much change in ease of doing business. Have you seen channels open up via CSR to? I'm not sure if you're into women empowerment or reskilling, upskilling at that level. Have you seen that change come in? Because if you're talking about going local, my problem is that either make business easy, or put money in my pocket to buy local things, or put money in the pocket, like sir said, of people who provided service to manufacture more. How do we go local? For me, it's just majorly either you improve our productivity, that means you upskill our people,
Yeah.
or you free up our labor laws a little bit,
Yes.
or you reform our land acquisition policies, move to lease kind of holdings where you're not stuck in litigation for 25 years because 1 acre of your land has been challenged by somebody else. And last thing is fix our credit system. You're giving bad loans after bad loans, and now you want to give more loans to all these stressed MSMEs who might take the loan to survive and then default, and we'll be back into a whole new loop of
True.
financial recession. So going local is great, but I think more than that is we have to go global at this point in time, open it up, let the world come in and spend money on us so that the economy rises. I think he said the exact opposite in my limited experience of what we should be doing.
Uh, you're asking me about CSR, right? CSR, any
Yes.
change in CSR? So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of change in CSR. I think Sheetal, during that webinar which we had, so CSR has become single focus now. Everyone only distributing either food packets or or contributing to PM Care Fund. So basically that 80% has become that, distributing food packet after food packet after food packet across the country. And earlier, there used to be three needs of a human: roti, kapda, or makan, matlab, which we olden times, and ek makan. But has anyone given free clothes? Has everyone given free houses, places to stay? The whole focus is about food. So, matlab, free rations, and the government gives for 3 months, Congress says give for 6 months. So, is there any end to this giving free food, free food, free food? And there is another side of it. Bhavik sir, just a little point on what you said. We have terribly failed for, regarding the scare of migrants and all. It was awful the way they had to leave their places of work and struggle. So, but there is another side of the story also to it, that they have gone back and there is absolutely no type of quarantine in villages. There's no one to monitoring it. I know firsthand, I'm telling you, the firsthand, what to say, story I'll tell you, that they're all playing cricket. The day they come, they get from the Pradhan. The Pradhan has the, from the government, they get those bori full of rations, chana, oil, sugar, everything. Boris are set, and tum aaye ho, you please take this. They play cricket the whole day. And if they have 3 accounts, 3 bank accounts or 4 bank accounts, they all keep opening. No, it's 500, it's 100, it's some one Jandhan will be there, one something else will be there. All the 4 accounts have got credit with 1,500 rupees. Plus there is Manrega. 400 rupees a day they are getting. And they go there, dig one hole, fill that hole, come back. Who's going to come back and do this hard work in Mumbai? Tell me this. Do they want to live 10 people in one room and go struggle, go on time, punch out on time, do one whole day of work? They're having a ball. I'm not saying that they are in a sad state or anything. And please, this is just another side of the story I'm presenting to you. You also must be aware of it. Oh, so many people have got so much money in their banks. It's not a huge amount that, 1,500 from our point of view, it is very less. But they have got it and they're so happy. Where is the, social distancing? Where is that quarantine thing? You and I are quarantined in our houses. You are doing work from home. Your employees are doing work from home. Industries, all these people are doing. But what about the majority of India? I mean, it's bad that the way this has gone forward without any planning. Suddenly one local thing emphasis, suddenly migrants go home. The whole thing has been an unplanned exercise in my point of view. CSR is basically distributing food packets, all those things of women empowerment, skilling centers and all, it's all gone down below. All those programs which I know the NGOs had signed up with corporates. NGO is a big industry, and it's a very good, clean industry apart from a few in between. But, the whole thing, they've not got project sanctions. What will all of them do? Because the corporates now say that we don't have money. We've all spent it all on the pandemic. So sorry. So what will an NGO do? There are 5 people employed, 10 people employed there. Everyone's job goes. So it's a knee-jerk reaction. Sabko khana bato. Khana is only going to, solve a day-to-day thing. So I think I spoke a lot.
No, you did not. So basically similar to the knee-jerk reaction that, CSR mein khana bato, you think that going local is like a knee-jerk reaction. It's not going to be of any effect.
Maybe.
I just what Namita said, I'll just add to, not add to it, I'll just say one thing is that, see, the first issue is we need to segregate the 2 things. One is what caused them to go home. What pushed them to go home? That is where we fail them. Second, how they were made to go home. That again we fail them. You're right. Why blame the migrants for not wanting to come back because they're getting free money? I have seen the same thing happen with even people in industry here. Because in the lockdown, because the government mandated that you have to pay them salaries at home without doing any work.
Correct.
They were not willing to come back. We had so much of issues. They would come up with excuses. Our family is not allowing us. My society is not allowing us. My, this one is not allowing me to come. So they were all sitting at home and enjoying. So that is basically, I would say, that's a human tendency. The other side is also, please understand that, while I did make that point that the government is not really doing enough, the other question is, where does the government have money? I don't think this government has any money left with it. You consider that 1 lakh GST, which was on an average of 1 lakh crore per month collection of GST is not happening. 2 months of lockdown is not happened at all. The other income is your excise and customs. So customs was shut. There were no imports. The other thing which comes under excise was petrol and diesel, which also because of no transportation was the consumption was. I mean, anyway, it was at an all-time low in terms of even the. So I mean, the government also doesn't have any money to really. So I don't blame the government on that point, but okay, coming back to this whole discussion of local for local, uh, it's does. I mean, anyway, like I said, I mean, I am not. I don't really see, like Dhanush said earlier, uh, a lot of these statements are not thought through. I mean, they are not. It's a point and shoot and scoot or shoot and scoot kind of statements which are being done. So I really don't know. I mean,
So just one interesting fact: the PM Cares Fund actually, I think, credited about 9,000 crores, sir. So don't worry, they have a lot of money, sir. Donations
And
have
you
been
can't do
nice and
RTI
right.
on that also. You can't even do
Uh,
RTI on that. You don't know what
No,
they
sir.
will
they
do with
should
the
do
money.
RTI also.
So
Yes.
there's enough money there, sir. We just see how they spend it. And so knee-jerk reaction has been only for me was in the technology world. At least only had these apps that came up which were targeting Chinese manufacturers and removing them from your phone. You had a couple of film stars who said, I'm removing 1, 2, and 3 app from my phone. And the professor sitting up in the hills in Ladakh. I can understand his problem was an immediate problem, right? China was on his border. They had entered the country. So he came out and he did his war cry as well. And people jumped on board and said, I will also remove 3 apps. I said, removing 3 apps is not, fighting them
It's not
with
going to
wallets
solve
instead of
anything.
bullets. That was, I think, the quote by Mr. Professor Wangchu was, fight with your wallet and not with bullets. But I'm saying that is not the answer. So at least my summation is let's go to let's isolate industries. In the industries, let's see what can we do in policy, people, and process. Figure that out, and then start hitting manufacturing or service or technology, whatever industry you want to choose, and move from there. One war cry on a 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Speech by the Prime Minister got everybody nice and joshed up and saying, "I'm going to, fight for my country till this weekend." And that impact was far more than anything else. In fact, we're all on a call this evening to try and understand the psychology behind that war cry.
Is
And
it
as you
is it
said,
trying to be more Swadeshi? The Swadeshi movement? Are they trying to incorporate a Swadeshi movement by this war cry? What do you feel? Is it like more of a political phenomenon, or technically does it have a backing?
I think so. I think what Bhavik sir said right in the beginning, the forefathers of the current political party and their ideology will stand by this, right? And there have been a lot of complaints because the land policies that have come out. There have been a lot of complaints from the agro sector saying that it's a policy for the rich and not for the poor. So this is great for vote bank. I mean, buy more from our local farmers and don't import the onion and don't import the aloo and so I think it's a great political move, and he is a political master. But Bhavik sir will give us real life impact on business. I'm from technology, so I can tell you what will happen in technology, and ma'am is from CSR, so it'll be a good. I didn't walk around the table to understand that as well.
So closing remarks from, we'll start off with Bhavik sir. Closing remarks from Bhavik sir, Namita ma'am, and then Dhanu. Bhavik sir, closing remarks from you.
yeah. So basically, like I said in the beginning, India opened itself to global markets in '91 through its liberalization, privatization, and globalization policies. But okay, effectively it remained cautious as it skirted around the whirlwind of international capital in the following decades. Now, when Mr. Modi took over, there was a renewed cry from global corporations and governments for bolder reforms. Uh, if anything, he's traveling in the opposite course. I mean, he's completely raising fresh trade barriers, seeking to strengthen India's manufacturing base through Make in India initiative. So in doing so, he's been true to his ideological calling and also to his mandates of 2014 and 19, which were not sought or won on expanding globalization. His politics, in fact, rides on the mobilization of people dispossessed and alienated by the rumbling march of globalization, by providing them new targets to really vent their anger on. So I think this is largely rhetorical and might be unmindful of India's real limitations, to the extent that such politics brings probably succor to the disadvantage, and in that sense it is to be welcome. If it is only a facade for authoritarianism, it will bring more harm to the same people this approach professes to protect. So
Thank
that's
you,
my
Bhavik. Thank you, Bhavik sir. Thank you for your closing remarks. Namita ma'am.
There's a WhatsApp I just thought of as a closing remark. So this global versus local is just for the time being, because when Modi ji wants to start his international jaunts and travels, then the whole thing will get reversed.
Interesting perspective. Thank you, ma'am. Dhanur, closing remarks from you, please.
For me, it's just if you want to go local, then you have to kind of grow local, and if you have to grow local, then let's go to the base of the problem, skill the people, attack the right industries, create clear policies, and start with clear communication, so that we all at least know what go local means. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, all three panelists for joining us. We are now open for questions. We have a few questions on the chat box, so I'll just pick them up, and new questions can also be shared. Now, the questions that have been shared here are, okay, fair enough. Okay. Do we need to focus on products or services in terms of going local? Anyone who would like to pick it up? Products? Namita ma'am says products. What about you, Dhanar? Products or
Again,
services?
so I think more services, because it is something that does not need too much infrastructure to be set up. You can do it quicker. You can have a services company set up in a day, but if you have to create a product and manufacturing units, it will take a long time, a lot of investment. So services much quicker to deploy, less training. So I would choose services, whether it's technology services or human services. But I would go for services as a quicker alternative, just to get the economy booming.
What about Bhavik?
So I would definitely go with services, because one, of course, it is the services sector which is increasing dramatically in terms of, I mean, the growth rate in the services sector is very high. The second is that, when you're talking about local for vocal, service sector is something which directly, touches every individual. You may buy a product once, but for that you will probably need service in the entire lifetime of that product.
Correct.
So going local there would definitely be a great advantage. I mean, would be a great way to go for local.
Is it a case wherein we have misconstrued the call for being local in the wrong way? Probably he meant that we should try to go more local in terms of services, what our strengths are. We have having some interesting comments from Mr. Janardhan Mamtura, who says that, we need to be a bit more optimistic about things that we have been shared. Probably we are not looking at it at the right side, is what he's sharing. So is that a fact? Is it that we are not trying to focus on our strengths and probably we are looking at it in a negative manner? What do you feel, Danlis? Do you think that this is the right idea?
No, so I completely agree with him, but the negativity is coming because of lack of clarity. If we were clear in what the objective was, so I honestly believe that we need to solve for the problem. So two quick solutions that came to my mind that I said earlier was that either you educate people and give free marketing to Indian brands by having an option on these online portals to choose Indian companies and just buy from Indian companies. There are so many now these companies that are coming up, which are organic. So, organic cheese, organic vegetables, organic milk, and they're all Indian companies. In fact, from our campus, there's somebody who runs their own farm as well. Now, people don't know about him because he doesn't have Patanjali's money, right? But he would really love to be able to broadcast himself across the world. So give Amazon, and say if Amazon wants to do business here, there has to be a switch that says, show the local companies. So bring them there. And again, I was asking ma'am earlier for CSR again, as they are so linked to the grassroots level, help them create channels to sell that product or that service from those villages up north, and focus on that. But the knee-jerk reaction was about going local, about anti-China, and stop these products and that products is what gave it that negative overtone. So I don't think we are negative, but a solution to this. These are the only two solutions I can come up with, but at least for a short-term kind of a delivery.
Right. So basically, I think this is a better idea. I mean, that's the right thing. We need to focus on our strengths rather than just madly trying to being local by removing apps from our phone and trying to do things which are not really possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. So yeah, we have had an interesting discussion today, and I believe we all have agreed that when the call is to be vocal for local, we should also try to understand what our strengths are and play to our strengths rather than trying to do things which are not possible for us, right? And I think that is the consensus, optimistically speaking, that we can take out of this discussion. Thank you all the three panelists for sparing time on a Saturday, a weekend, and spending time with us. Uh, to give the closing remarks, I would request firstly Mr. Major Mayank Mathur to speak from IIM Ahmedabad. Major Sahab, are you there?
I am very much there. Thanks, Dr. Sheetal, for again coming out with a wonderful webinar, a discussion on to another big hot topic. So I thank each one of you. I thank the panelists who have spared their decent, valuable time to be with us today. Also coming out with their amazing set of experience. We have Mr. Bhavik Khera with a volume of experience. We have Mr. Oberoi joining us, and we have ma'am who spoke about the CSR activities and the new paradigm shift into CSR activities, which is to do with food, and food. I believe she repeated it 4 times. And yes, gentlemen, that's the worst of the things which are happening. We are not looking at sustainable CSR. We are probably looking at one time, feed the stomach and forget about tomorrow morning. So, ma'am, I'm in complete agreement with you. And yeah. And yes, we need to have sustainable solutions. We need to local, vocal, all is good. I completely agree with Mr. Dhanur also. We need to open up. We need the market to open up, and we need the people to work and feed their own stomach. So I'm Ahmedabad Alumni Association, Vadodara. We've been trying to garner a lot of inputs into this. We've been suitably helped with an amazing partner, which is ISTD, and we are trying to build it up. Yes, Mr. Bhavik Khera also is one of our esteemed members who is definitely a force to reckon with. He's a force behind all this again. Thank you, especially Mr. Bhavik Khera, for being the force and also being a participant panelist today. So that's all from my side. I wish to invite you, keep inviting you in the times to come in the future as well. Over to you, Dr. Sheetal. Back to you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Major Sir, for your kind words. We had 3 people from different industries today, and we had a very clear perspective and interesting discussion, interesting points, certain things that will always remain in our mind regarding food from CSR, what Dhanur said. Amazon, Flipkart should have a Make in India sort of an option. It's a very interesting perspective, and what Bhavik ji very clearly said, we need to be more practical and pragmatic in our approach. Thank you to all the 3 panelists. Now off to the chairman, ISTD Vadodara, for the closing remarks. Desai Sahab.
Thank you, Sheetal. Discussion was very lively. But as a layman, I would also like to just contribute, saying that way back in 1991, as it was economy was opening up, and as Khera Sahab said, Coca-Cola was a debate. At that time, there was a cartoon by Lakshman, whether we should continue with Coca-Cola or we should ask them to get out. So data was fed in IBM, and IBM says you drive them out. So ultimately, we have to depend on technology, and despite all this restriction, government is trying to generate national spirit by saying local for vocal or vocal for local. And there are so many things that ordinary people can buy, which is otherwise imported. For example, hair cosmetic like things, cracker like things, and there are so many small items. If we buy which is locally made, it will definitely help the local people. Or you can also buy ready-made clothes, but instead of that, if you go to a tailor, to that extent, employment will be generated. So ultimate objective is to generate national spirit rather than going for economy. But then there are so many pros and cons. Keeping all this in view, one has to take some decision. But I really thank all the panelists. They have really contributed, and they have opened up new directions. Way back, in petrochemical industry, when Esso and Caltex and Shell and they were prevailing, but government nationalized those things and made it Indian Oil, and then Bharat Petroleum, Hindustan Petroleum, and in refinery sector, India has grown very well, right from that to Reliance Industries. So unless we take some hard step, some time, it is difficult to grow. And this is the time, even at the cost of quality, cost, we have to go for local product. As a layman, I personally feel that promoting the local product, of course, government should take care of the procedures, because as the industrialist, there are so many loopholes and so many blockades by government agencies. Unless that is cleared easily, it becomes very difficult for MSME sector to come out with some concrete proposal. But with all the limitation, just to generate national spirit, it is been made that local versus vocal. And with these few words, I thank all, particularly panelists and Dr. Sheetal, for giving this opportunity to listen all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Desai sir. I think you brought out the balance in the discussion, because we were, I think, going on one way. Probably this is a balanced end to it. But thank you once again for spending time with us today evening. Thank you, Dhanur. Thank you, Bhavik ji. Thank you, Namita ma'am, for sparing time on a Saturday evening. Thank you to all the participants who have attended this. There are a lot of questions which are still coming on, but I'll not take much time from everyone. But thank you once and all. Good night, everyone. Have a safe weekend. Adios.
Thank you.